Hello and welcome to the NewIn Podcast. I'm Cathi Harrison and I am on a mission to improve financial services, and this podcast is part of that. So in order for you to get to know me bit by bit each episode, I thought I would share an interesting fact with you, just a little snippet of information so that you can get to know who I am. So today's fact is that while my financial knowledge is pretty good, my geography knowledge is not so much, and I actually only learned a couple of weeks ago which 3 countries make up North America. Spoiler alert, none of them are Antarctica. So anyway, let's dive on in, and I wanted to start with introducing one of my wonderful co-hosts, Ilana Miller from Royal London. So the structure of the podcast is that we're going to alternate episodes, talking firstly with somebody who's come through one of our new talent programs, and then we will follow up with somebody who has come through one of our advisor incubators. So coming up in the first interview will be one of our lovely students, Victoria, who was a former book editor and has chosen to move from that career to come into the wonderful world of finance. But firstly, let's discover who Ilana is and why she is part of our shiny new podcast. So Ilana, welcome to the NewIn Podcast. Exciting to have you here.
Oh, thanks very much. Excited to be here.
Do you want to start by just telling people a little bit about yourself and your role in Royal London?
Yes, I am the investment and retirement specialist at Royal London. I've worked, I think coming on for 30 years in financial services now, but I like to say just over 20 so that people don't start
nice.
Like mental arithmetic on your age. And I've worked with like financial planners and advisors in the UK probably for about 20 of those years. So working on topics given the title, like in the investment and retirement sphere, but basically anything that affects a business. So I do a lot on value tracking, financial coaching, investor behaviour, and that sort of thing.
Amazing. And then obviously you have joined the podcast to help us talk to some of the people coming through the new talent programme, kind of choosing their first kind of careers in finance. Why did you want to get involved in it, and why do you think it's important that we get more new people choosing to come into financial services?
Oh, I was so excited to be involved in it, to speak to people who have chosen to be in financial services and have a conversation with them about that. Me and you have discussed it before, that, you know, we don't want the industry or the profession to be the I just fell into it one. Want it to be the intentional one that people aspire to and want to join. And you know what? I don't even think sometimes when we say it, it's actually even the truth. And actually, if we told the truth, it would open up financial services as a pathway. So for example, when I say, or used to say, I don't say it anymore, I just fell into it. It was actually that I couldn't afford university and I had to get a job where I thought I can do it without going to uni and one that I could earn decent money. And so it was quite intentional that I went, and I saw that they'd pay for my exams. It was FPCs at the time. So I thought, actually, this is a really good pathway for me.
It's like a cliche in itself. It's like, oh, how did you fall into finance? And actually, it's one level to almost call out to that's how we approach it. But it's like, we don't want that to be the case.
And I do think people think, you know, there is that perception, like I said, of that narrow doorway. You've got to have certain qualifications, be from a certain background, generally from a certain type of family, certain education. And that just is not true. Financial services is the name, but it's such a catch-all. You know, I describe it as it's like saying sports. I'm in sports. Well, that could be anything from an Olympic sports star to somebody that keeps the grass perfect on the pitch, to one of the coaches. You know, it's a whole array of roles, and that's the same with financial services. And I also think when you look at the average income in the UK, actually the roles in financial services give people so much more. So I think from a social mobility perspective, there's so much opportunity there as well.
And so this is exactly why you are perfectly placed to do the interviews with our new talent students, and hopefully kind of some of these stories will start to come out about how they've chosen a career in finance, not just fallen into it.
We don't have the problem that people really want to get into the sector, but the people in it hate it. It's the other way around, you know, so we have to just let all of these people know what these people know.
Amazing. Well, you know, we're doing our part. We're getting there. I'm sure we'll have millions of listeners to our award-winning podcast in no time. What are you hoping or expecting to kind of hear from them? What kind of lessons are you thinking will come through, or the journeys that they're taking?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the sheer volume of pathways. The fact that it is really open to anyone who wants it, who wants to step onto that road. I think that's what we're really going to hear. All these sorts of different transferable characteristics, qualities. Is going to take that narrow doorway that we talked about, knock it down. And I guess, and I think this was said in one of the interviews, there's no commitment as such when you're exploring it. If you want to go and ask some questions, talk to other people, you're not even changing roles at that point. And so I was certainly very inspired, I think, by some of the things I heard that I could even bring into my role today.
So just so we can find out a little bit about you, I've got some quick fire questions. So number one, who do you most admire in either finance or in business?
This sounds really bad because I'm sure I should have an icon, but mine is probably a bit more of a Frankenstein icon. So I really admire those people who don't just follow the herd, who have real integrity and real purpose, I would say, and also are quite funny. I like that little addition.
If you didn't work in finance, what would your job be? What would your career be?
100% nature related. So it'd be wildlife. I'd be an outdoor guide. I'd be giving people far too much information about a single type of bird that they didn't ask for. Be lying on my stomach in mud, watching otters with a small group of people, I think. Definitely something along those lines.
Favourite movie?
Oh, that's another hard one, isn't it? Because,
it is
it that you want to watch something like, My Girl, where you never recover from it and it traumatizes you forever? Or, like a Naked Gun. Oh, I know, Jurassic Park. I absolutely love all of the Jurassic Parks. I'm obsessed with those. I'm going to go with Jurassic Park.
You know what? I love just the 3 points of that triangle from like My Girl to Naked Gun at Jurassic Park. That one, yeah. And lastly, a fun fact about you.
Oh, that is actually really hard. I can't think of a single fact. I'm a very accident-prone person. They're not fun facts though, actually, are they? I worked in Hong Kong for the first company I worked for. They transferred me there, which you might say, wow, that is a great sign of confidence that they would send you there. Or you might say, you must have been really bad that they wanted to send you that far away.
How far away can we send her?
That was, yes, that's a fact about me, my early career. Spent some time in Hong Kong. Do I need something a bit like a bit? Yeah, no. They're all like horrific accidents that I would just...
I've got lots of questions, but we'll do that separate. We're going to go into your interview with Victoria. Do you want to just give us a little intro to it and kind of how you found chatting with her?
Yes, so she is absolutely fantastic. I so enjoyed speaking to her. Her journey from being a book editor to a change in her life, a loss that meant she engaged with a financial advisor, a financial planner, which had never been something at all she'd ever thought about or considered or understood. She goes on to talk about how that led to her change and finding Verve Foundation and where she is today as a financial planner. And yeah, she's absolutely brilliant.
Amazing. Well, thank you for doing that. Thank you for joining in the podcast.
Oh, thank you very much.
So let's dive in and listen to your interview with the lovely Victoria.
Today I am joined by the absolutely enchanting Victoria Lympus, who's going to share her stories with us of what happened to change her career, how she did it, some of the highs and lows to where she is now. When you meet new people now and they ask what you do, what do you say?
Sure, that's such a good question because it is something that I've really struggled with over the last few years because I was a book editor, which I'm sure we'll get into. I was clear on that. And then I had 3 children and I was freelancing, but I was probably spending most of my time being a mummy, which I loved. But then, yeah, when people kind of ask you what you do, it doesn't feel like a clear cut answer. And then I started working in financial services about a year ago now, but yeah, the imposter syndrome was real. So when people asked me, I'd sort of say, oh, well, I'm doing some exams and I'm kind of retraining. And then this September, my youngest daughter started school. And so I've met a whole new kind of cohort of mums. And at one of their birthday parties recently, I was talking to someone I didn't know who asked what I did. And I said, I'm a financial planner. And it was so nice and that felt like a really kind of momentous thing to say, to kind of own that and believe that, I suppose. Yeah.
Oh, what a moment. Well, the problem with that though, Victoria, is probably, I'm assuming within 3 minutes, everybody gathered around you and started asking you questions, some of which don't even relate to financial planning. They'll ask about an NI number or something. And tell us a little bit about what your life and career looked like before financial services or even the Verve Foundation had entered your mind.
So we're in kind of January 2026 and the whole kind of 2016, 2026 Instagram thing is trending. So in 2016, I was working full-time in publishing. I think my career was quite a natural fit at that point.
Is that what you'd always wanted to do?
I think it's what I'd always wanted to do. And to some degree, I had achieved that, which is both wonderful and also then kind of leaves you thinking, what next?
What did you imagine sort of in childhood when you were thinking about, you know, what mattered most in a job?
So my mum was an accountant. She was very well suited to doing that. She had a very rigorous and logical kind of mind. And so I do think she enjoyed it, but I think that she was quite clear that there was a practical element to her career choice in that.
Yeah.
It enabled her to earn a good hourly rate, but in a way that was flexible. And, you know, I think maternity and kind of working mothers has changed dramatically even in my lifetime. You know, I think when she got pregnant with me, I was her first child. She was working for a accountancy firm and they were like, okay, well, that's it. There was no expectation that she'd come back, you know.
Yeah.
So there was a kind of quite a practical approach to work from her.
Yeah.
Whereas my dad was a musician and he worked for BBC Radio 3. That was a career of passion. So there was a bit of a kind of like head heart kind of, which I think like is true, but also kind of is more complex than that. You know, I think like, yes, Dad loved every day of his career, but it wasn't just a kind of hard decision, you know. He was successful and so he kind of ticked those practical boxes too.
Yeah.
And ditto with Mum. I think, yes, it was a practical decision, but I think she did find it satisfying and rewarding as well. And so in some respects, I've moved more from a kind of like heart career into more of a head career, but also I am passionate about my career now.
Yeah.
But I think also people's lives are complex and, you know, you do need to kind of balance the practical with the passion.
We hate nuance. I think it got worse when Twitter came out. That was the first thing that became really popular socials, but limited people originally to 40 characters. And it seemed like that then created this black and white thinking. But actually, you're right. You know, what you're saying is it doesn't mean that you can't have stability and the income you want and the life you want. Over here is a head decision. You can't have joy and passion and purpose. So what triggered the change to when you first thought, I'm going to do something different?
My dad died in 2017 and then my mum died. So I inherited some money, kind of more money than I really knew what to do with. You know, inheritances are, often quite an emotional sort of way to kind of receive money. I kind of got my first insight into working with a financial advisor, kind of realised that it is so much more than kind of numbers on a spreadsheet, basically. So it was such a kind of powerful experience that I thought maybe, I could sort of help other people in this situation.
Friend of mine had been an executive assistant and her dad was sadly diagnosed with a terminal illness, and they at the Christie Hospital, they really supported her and her family, the cancer nurses, through, you know, the most terrible time in her life. And when she lost her dad, she said it just changed everything for her, and she thought about her career, the head heart stuff, you know, having that insight into what they do every day and how it made her feel as the receiver of that. She said, that's what I want to do for other people. I want to retrain, and that's what I want to give to others. And she's now been doing that for, it's actually nearly 20 years. Can you tell us a little bit about the experience with the financial planner? What were the things that surprised you?
I think I was a bit confused at first about why he was asking so many questions.
Stop being so nosy, please. Just tell me this money.
I mean, nice problem, but like, here's the money. Can you just like deal with it, kind of thing? Yeah. And he kept asking about big picture, what we wanted to do, and kind of what our values were. And I mean, I do love talking about all those things, but I think in my mind I was like, what's the connection here? But now I kind of completely understand why he was asking all those questions.
Yeah.
But it is also to build that relationship as well, you know, the two go hand in hand.
What you've outlined as well is one of the challenges in the profession is, you know, if you believe that to offer the best outcomes, we have to really understand a person. But people are so reluctant to be vulnerable, and particularly about those things. Sometimes people don't even know. Sometimes it can be taboos around money. Sometimes it can be feeling vulnerable about yourself.
Yeah, sometimes they don't really know. And I think I can relate to that. You know, a lot of clients are like, when can I retire? And kind of until you answer that question for them, it's quite hard to think beyond that. We're interested in what's beyond that, and they're interested in an answer to that specific question.
And you know, one of the biggest issues we have actually definitely in, you know, pension planning or long-term savings planning, people find it so difficult to empathize with their future self. So it's how can we maybe make people feel comfortable as well, like, look, these are the questions I'm going to ask you, and this is why, which you've had some insight into now, I guess, when you're doing that yourself,
getting the permission to ask those questions. But I think also being quite clear up front about why we want to know absolutely everything about their heart and soul.
So, you know, when you first then considered retraining, what were the risks that came immediately to your mind? You know, there might be time, income.
So at this point, we'd moved out of London, and I was freelancing from home. And so there were some things that were working with that, i.e. the kind of flexibility and the kind of being physically present for my kids. But I guess the things that weren't working were career progression in what I was doing. I felt like I was doing the same thing over and over again, different projects and different books, but I didn't see a future there. And I was earning some money, but the money wasn't massive, kind of thing. So I guess in terms of finances, it, to be honest, didn't feel like a massive risk. In terms of career progression, it didn't feel like a risk in that I felt like I'd got to the end of the road of where I was currently. I think the thing that I was nervous about was, can I do this around my family? Yeah. And also, I mean, can I even do it?
It's perfectly normal, I think, for people to think, can I do it? What did you do to kind of quieten that down?
I don't know if it ever goes away. I think passing every single one of those exams has taken me closer to thinking, yes, I can.
When you thought, okay, I'm gonna pursue this, I'm gonna find doing this. What were the sort of concrete things that you did, right?
I think I just started talking to people, really. So I spoke to our financial advisor, who was lovely as always. I spoke to St James's Place and kind of went to some of their presentations. And I spoke to the Verve Foundation. Their website is colourful and it looks fun. And there are a whole range of people smiling on it. I guess on kind of an unconscious emotional level just kind of resonated with me. They then put me in touch with more people to talk to. I know a range of people now who have contacted them and spoken to them about lots of different things. And even whether they're kind of like directly involved or not, they always somehow, I don't know how, make the time to talk to people, help them where they can. So yeah, they're incredibly approachable, friendly, and kind of just generous with their knowledge.
Yeah. So how did that kind of go on to you joining the program?
I submitted my application and she said there's one person who wants to support an individual rather than kind of a cohort. So she was like, well, I've got a funder and I've got a very keen person who wants to join. So she's like, let me just see if this can fit together.
And are you still, you know, in touch with people that you work with?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. There's one girl in particular who was messaging her last night. You know, doing those exams is so intense. It is only really those people who are in that intense moment with you who really know or care kind of what you're going through. I mean, my husband's been brilliant. He's listened to all of the RO2 audio files in bed at night.
Gosh, you'd think that was a relationship breaker, actually.
I know, yeah.
Well done on navigating that.
I think the kind of one-to-one mentoring sessions have been, again, like a real, kind of fundamental kind of part of the last year. It's just really hard doing new things that just really do require you to kind of dig deep, really. So I think particularly when you do a career change, you're going from something that you feel very confident doing, you know, all the ins and outs of, you know, kind of what can go wrong, and also like how bad that is out of 10, you know. Yeah. And I think what I'd say to that is there's never going to be a perfect time. However, I think there probably are better and worse times. I did this once my youngest started school. That was the right time for me. They're all currently relatively stable, happy and settled. And so I kind of can have the capacity to kind of focus on this for a bit.
I know, I think we kind of want to pick that perfect path. So I think what you're saying is exactly right. There is no perfect time.
Yeah.
Infinite pathways.
Yeah.
You know, available to us. I think we get paralyzed sometimes by the choice.
Yeah.
I've definitely been there. I don't know if you remember, I sometimes describe it to people like, you know, the adventure, choose your own adventure book. So it would say you are, I don't know, you enter the jungle, do you go left or right?
Yeah.
Right, but I just keep my finger on that page so that if I found I made a mistake or didn't go where I wanted, I could go back. This is the sort of kid I was, right? So then, you know, and you would end up with so many fingers and things trapped in the book.
I really resonate with that. I think in the past I have thought there is a right decision and a wrong decision. And I need to choose the right one. Otherwise, I don't know, catastrophe, disaster. Whereas I don't really believe that now. I think there's try one thing. Yeah. And then you can always kind of change your mind. You know, nothing's forever, nothing's set in stone. And there is a time to say, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And there is a time to say, no, come on, persevere. Yeah, that's the challenge, rather than like at the very beginning, kind of, left or right.
I think we can then get paralyzed by overthinking all of the things that we could change about ourselves rather than just carrying on to the next page, you know, and finding where it does work. So what about the brilliant verse? Have there been any that have stuck where you thought, wow?
Yeah, I think the very first client I worked with, I mean, that's always going to be special, but I think she was an artist, actually, becoming really successful, but just putting in those real kind of fundamentals, pensioners and savings. So it's nice and kind of straightforward, but also like just knowing that is gonna serve her so well into the future felt really good.
That must have felt great. Like when you are genuinely so connected to really wanting to change things for the better for someone.
That is that is ultimately kind of the point of doing it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think it is such a privilege to be privy to kind of so much kind of financial information, but also kind of personal information, and that, you know, that is a real privilege and responsibility.
Yeah.
But I think what I'm quite passionate about is helping families really work as a team and really seeing the contributions that everyone is making to that team and helping them, all of them, kind of thrive kind of like in the present and kind of future.
I love that.
So
It's so clear how your, you know, past experience, skills you've had, you know, in your, whether it's in with your, you know, your family and your relationships, the role that you were in, your experiences, you can see how much that enriches, you know, the experience that your clients get and the empathy you have. So yeah, thank you again for sharing those things with us.
The NewIn Podcast, supported by Royal London, the lead sponsor of the Verve Foundation.
Amazing. So here we are, edging towards the end of our first episode. What we thought would be interesting would be to get the same perspective from somebody who works in Verve, but their background wasn't in finance.
That's me.
That's you. So welcoming Nat, who is our Chief Engagement Officer at Verve. Nat and I met, I was trying to work this out, 2002?
Oh, yeah, probably.
It was,
yeah, it was.
It's 24 years ago, when we were 5.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So yeah, we met at uni.
Oh, that's a funny story to tell.
I know, well, if anybody doesn't know me, I turned up late on my first day, lost, didn't have a pen, came into the room, missed the chair.
You know, the flippy down ones.
Flippy down, like theatre style chairs, didn't realise I had to flip it down. Just sat on the floor in my first lecture.
Right next to me.
Right next to Nat.
Exactly.
Here we go.
How serendipitous.
24 years later.
I know.
You're welcome.
Still lending her a pen, still pulling her out a chair.
We did the same degree, so we did a major in English literature, both loved reading.
We did, yeah.
And then we did a minor in business, which mainly covered like business strategy, accounting. And immediately after uni, went on very different career paths, didn't we?
Yeah, you went into the world of finance.
I did.
I went into all things marketing, events, design, brand, you know, all of the nice show busy type stuff.
Yeah, quite different to mine.
Yeah, it wasn't show busy at all. It was actually really
Seemed
really
it.
hard
Used to be
work.
like, oh, I'm just doing this event and I've got
in
stilt
London.
walkers and fire breathers. And I was like, well, I'm writing a report.
But yeah, 9 years ago, I think, I joined Cathi, just kind of made the decision to leave the creative agency side and come and help you build a brand that was something that you'd already been doing with parasols. And then along came Africity, and then along came the grad scheme, and along came Verve and Art of Finance.
Keep going,
we've had many. The foundation being another,
But I think from the point, so Nat and I always talk about when I was first thinking of starting a power planning business, and we sat in the farmhouse around the corner. The pub, and I was like, oh, I'm thinking of starting my own business, and I was a power planner at the time, and I'm thinking of going outsourced. Like, what did you think at the time? Because you didn't know what a power planner was. Like, you had no idea.
And I still find it fascinating.
Still don't know.
I think I'd got to a point where there was a very, very basic understanding that you were a report writer, and that's ultimately what it was, that you kind of did the work for the advisor, as it were.
Yeah.
I remember that very first day, turned up with my gold, like, you know, Filofax and my Swarovski crystal pen, and
I was like, can I borrow it?
Yeah. Pulled out the chair again. But that very first day, do you remember? It was a meeting with Rory Percival.
Yeah.
And I sat in that meeting, and I've still got the notebook. It's actually in my office there. And the amount of acronyms that he threw about, and I remember just thinking, stay calm, because it was so out of my comfort zone. Like, just write it, pin that, come back to it. And then I filled a whole page. And I remember like coming to the end of the meeting and thinking, Cathi, I don't know if I've made the right decision. I don't know if you remember this insight at the time. I always remember like being able to really dumb it down, because I had the benefit, I suppose, of being an external fresh pair of eyes and saying, hang on a minute, like it feels like the FCA and advisors are like at loggerheads here. It was like teachers and Ofsted.
Yeah.
And it was like very much like, well, hang on a minute, we're all actually on the same page. We all need to be doing what we're doing for the, you know, greater good for the end client. So why is it such a toxic and tenuous relationship really between the two sides, as it were. But I remember being able to do that because it was the same in the world of NHS. And I remember having this light bulb moment and thinking, oh no, actually it's not that different at all.
No, I think that's absolutely true, and I think it's that like almost perceived bubble of finance of, oh, it's something that if I haven't come across it, it seems 10 steps away, and like I just don't even know how I would begin to kind of bridge it. But as you see, you can kind of bring any existing experience or even just like general curiosity about the world into it. And there's rooms for so many different like personalities and traits, and like absolutely.
I'm absolutely not in the technical.
Well, and our
right
thing
now.
has always been we're chalk and cheese. Like we are so different in so many ways.
I always have the pen and know how to work a flippy chair.
I always need both of the above. But it's that, it's not, you don't need to be wired in one way to kind of find a career in finance.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, it's very much the approach we took with the grad scheme as well, wasn't it, really? Because it was about how you want to feel at the end of the day, you know, the type of leader you want to work with, you know, the colleagues that are going to bring out the, you know, the best in you and the environment that you're in. Almost the fact that it's in financial services is like is secondary. So it's almost like that's what I know about me and what I want out of a job. It just happens to be it's available in financial services. So
and if anything, it gives you that extra layer, because if you thought, oh, I'm creative and therefore I have to be in a creative industry, it's quite limiting. But actually I'm creative, and if I'm in an industry, like I always think finance isn't considered historically creative, doesn't that give you so much more to go
you get
at?
the chance to
isn't that like an
and
opportunity to kind of
absolutely, I agree.
Do something different. I think over the years you are kind of another one of those people that is very willing to just kind of jump into anything that I throw at you. One of the early ones you mentioned, the grad schemes, and you helped like at least, you know, over the years half of Verve's team have come through that scheme, and like we've brought people in that wouldn't have otherwise. Likewise, when we launched the first New Talent Initiative, which was We Are Change through the Verve Foundation, it was you that helped me kind of create that, filtered on the people that have applied, the hundreds of people that apply.
So many.
Narrow them down, bring them in, like help kind of kickstart it. So I guess what would you say was like your insights from having gone through all of that, from helping directly bring so many new people into finance, like attracting them, filtering them down, and then kind of getting them underway?
Feels like a really big meaty
Doesn't
question,
it?
doesn't it? So obviously we were keen to build both in the foundation and across Verve to draw on some of the more personal attributes. So actually, you know, can you roll your sleeves up and get into the nitty gritty? Do you want to feel great at the end of the day? Do you want to be surrounded by good people? And you want somebody who's really thought about what it is they want from the programme, or indeed from the role at Verve. So we asked the two questions, and it's like, why you, as in why should we choose you? So tell us about your skills, your attributes, that type of thing. But then why us as well? And I just always think the answers to those two questions, like it's a partnership. And I think for as much as we do the interviewing, like it's very much about, are we the right fit, the programme, we were right fit for them and their needs and their lifestyle and their circumstance, as much as it is about, are they right for us?
I think we've always said that we're kind of chalk and cheese in a lot of ways, but you know, it's always complimented.
It is.
But I think the point is what we're saying in terms of finance, like there's room for everything, but how would you say you personally find your role in financial services? Is it your head? Is it your heart?
Can I cheat and say both?
If you explain it, might allow it.
I can. I would say if I was to pinpoint myself in any one of those, I'm led by my heart. That's just me as a person, I always have been. I suppose if you're thinking about this specific job right now, like, love the stuff that I do, love that we get to like work together. I love the office and the setup, suits me and my lifestyle, so even from a practical point of view, as it were. And so I would say it was a bit of both, but predominantly it's my heart.
But I think that's great. I think because it comes back to the point of you could be a naturally heart-led creative person and finance is still for you. Like, and I think that's kind of like really key. So would you say if Verve is the head, foundation's the heart of financial services? It is, isn't it?
I like that. I should work in marketing. Love that.
Thank you.
What an analogy.
Give us your pen. I'll write it down. There we go. Well, thank you very much for joining us, watching along, listening along to episode 1 of the NewIn Podcast. A huge thank you to our sponsors, Royal London in terms of the lead sponsorship and enabling this podcast to go ahead, and also all of the sponsors, all of the mentors, everybody involved with the Verve Foundation. Thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you on the next episode.